All right, so welcome back to the Coding Cleverly podcast, where we bring real stories from real professionals shaping the future of tech. And I'm your host, Haris Iftikhar, and today we have a special guest joining us all the way from Austin, Texas. Zad Ali, a software engineer at Meta. If you're ever wondered what it's like to work at one of the world's top tech companies, how to break into big tech, or how to stay ahead in this fast moving industry, you're in the right place. So, Zad's journey is inspiring, and the knowledge he brings today is gold. Let's dive in. So, Zad, would love to have a bit of introduction about yourself, your background, and how you got into software engineering.
Yes, sure. Basically, to get a real knowledge of where it all started, you have to really go back to high school for me. So, when I was, at that phase where I was trying to figure out whether which major I should be choosing, there was a lot of confusion. I was not someone who was very good at mathematics, so I was ruling out computer science at the time, thinking that I wouldn't be very good at this. But I kept on looking at all the other majors I was seeing, like, journalism and those others. And I didn't see too much potential there as well. And at the end of the day, like after going through all the engineering, seeing that I didn't want to go into medicine at all,
Mm-hmm.
I finally thought, like, I enjoy playing video games.
Okay.
So I wanted to go into software engineering or computer science. So I was like, you know what? I'll just go into computer science. So I studied computer science at the University of Alabama at Birmingham and got my bachelor's and master's done. And yeah, that's sort of how I started my journey into software engineering.
Inspiring. I mean, were you a particular gamer, like a Nintendo gamer or Xbox, PlayStation?
So as a kid, I was very strong into Nintendo. So, your Mario Galaxies or Zelda Twilight Princess.
Okay. Super Smash Bros. Series.
Yep.
Okay.
Brawl was my jam.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I'm also back in the day Melee. So I owned a GameCube. That was
Hmm.
my first console I got as a kid. And my siblings and I, we used to play all day Super Smash Bros. Try to battle each other out. So yeah, I mean that's amazing. What was your journey like before landing at Meta? What were like the key turning points for you?
So, the trajectory for getting into like computer science, like your career, is usually you get an internship and then you go hunting for a job.
Right.
The time it was to search for an internship was 2020. Was when COVID hit, when everyone was cutting out their internships.
Mm-hmm.
So I was scrambling a little bit, like, trying to find an internship. And spoilers, I did not really find any proper internship at a corporate company.
Okay.
And I um I was just searching for, like, by the time, like, that internship season was over of 2020, then it got into 2021, 2022, and I was getting closer into, like, okay, let me start finding jobs. And I can probably check my email. I got rejection after rejection, like sometimes without any interviews, sometimes there were some interviews, and I didn't really know the craft of it. So
Mm-hmm.
um, how I got into Meta was a bit surprising, where I actually got a recruiter who reached out to me. Like, I didn't apply to it or ask for a referral or anything. A recruiter just came to my email and saying, like, hey, I think you'd be a good fit at Meta. And I was like, hey, sure, I'll go for the interview.
So
So
was that through LinkedIn or through email? How was that?
it was through email.
Okay, wow. How did they find your email?
I I have some guesses, but I'm not sure,
Okay. Okay.
to be honest.
Okay. So, I mean, was this period after your master's and bachelor's, or was this during your master's? During the job recruiting process?
It was during my last year, so during my master's. So I finished my bachelor's already. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
What inspired you to do a master's degree? Because a lot of people I know they do a bachelor's and then they look for a job, but you also took another extra route and added a master's in your belt.
So number one, I'm just a very ambitious person. So um, number two was that this was not just like in a master's program; it was an accelerated program. So I was able to take some courses that counted towards my bachelor's degree and my master's degree simultaneously. So I didn't have to go through that full, the full curriculum for master's degree. So by the time my bachelor's was over, I was already halfway done with my master's. So
Awesome, awesome. Um, did you always envision yourself working at a FANG company?
honestly, no, not at all. Like I thought it was too difficult to get into, and I was thinking like, if I could just get into any company, then that would be fine. But um, I'm thankful for being here. So
Amazing. And you can assure that it's not difficult at all for anyone to go into any company of that sort. I mean, if you have the drill and the mission.
yeah, one little diversion I want to make, but I think is a really important one for your audience, is that I do have disabilities. So I was born with lower vision, and I was also born without a hand over here.
Oh, okay.
So um, number one point about that is that never let whatever abilities you have limit you. And number two thing I want to say is any interviews, if you're in the United States, and perhaps if you're watching this from elsewhere, then look at the laws over there. But you have rights to, ask for accommodations, and they have no right to discriminate upon you based on your ability or anything of the sort. So don't be intimidated. Like, anyone can do this.
Okay. That's beautiful, man, and super impressed. Hats off to you. Uh, how did your upbringing or environment, Austin, shape your career and mindset? Was it always that you were? I mean, you mentioned that you studied in Alabama. Is that I know that's a state. I haven't been there, but what?
Mhm.
So the job brought you to Austin, and how did this
Mhm.
upbringing or environment help you?
Yeah. So the thing about Austin is that it was much more of a tech city. Like before, I was trying to find opportunities to stay
Mhm.
in Birmingham because I didn't really want to move. But when you look at Birmingham, there's not many tech companies. You have, in terms of tech opportunities, you may have Regions Bank. You'll have Shipped, which I believe it's owned by Target. Like, it's like a grocery delivery service. But
Oh, okay.
those are those were the two only, like, major companies there. There were a few other startups, but I couldn't really crack into there. So Austin is great because there's a lot more of my kind. Like, there's just software engineers everywhere. Like, if you go to any, like, gathering of friends, you're guaranteed to find another software engineer there. So
It's definitely something that I found out over here. The next person you meet, you always guess you're gonna be a software engineer for a certain company. And so yeah, I see that there's a lot of jobs here. My story is similar because I was originally from New Jersey in the south side, so Atlantic City side, and
mhm,
there weren't that many, tech companies, what you can say. And so when I
mhm,
got the job offer and it was Austin as the location, so I had
mhm,
option of Dallas, Austin, or even Phoenix. I haven't been in any of those locations
mhm,
before, but then I just got some advice from my brothers, and as someone that I didn't even know myself, and neither did my brothers, but just asked some people, and I searched a bit, and I saw that Austin had a lot of tech into it, which I was interested in. So I took the move, and I'm here. So, how is a day in the life, like the culture at in Meta? How does a typical day look like for you at Meta?
Right. So, number one caveat that I want to make is that I am in Austin, but I am working remotely. So,
Full time.
uh, yeah, for full time.
Okay.
So, my typical day in the life would be that I'd wake up around 9 a.m. and I'd open up my laptop and I'd um, basically look at my list of tasks of what I need to do. And then, you spin up VS Code and
Yeah.
really just start coding. And I get a few meetings here and there, and I just attend those. So, and we have a weekly stand up that's every Tuesday and Thursdays where you talk about the progress you've made and
Yeah.
what you're going to do. And then bi-weekly you have things like the backlog refinement. We
Yes.
haven't done a refinement in a while, but yeah. And we also have a retrospective to
Yes.
look over what went wrong and all. And um, yeah, that's your typical day in the life.
Amazing. I mean, I share a lot of the same meeting titles like you mentioned. Do you have like daily huddles with the team for every like in the sprint? We have a scrum going on, the agile process, where in every day you tell what you're doing to the team, or is like how you mentioned weekly or bi-weekly basis?
It's bi-weekly. We used to do something daily, but then people complained that there were too many meetings on their calendar. So
Right. Right. Absolutely awesome. Um, so what is the work-life balance at Meta for you?
I'm not going to lie, it's a little intense.
Okay.
So you have to work pretty hard, and especially what is prioritized is like keeping up your productivity numbers. So you need to be coding a lot, like, and you are being compared to other engineers in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do fall behind, then you are going to be left back in the
Right.
dust. So there might be times that you have to work past working hours.
Oh,
There
okay.
are there are times that if you have an idea that you should get them done on the weekends because that's what other engineers are doing. So
Yeah,
um, yeah, it's not like a walk in the park at all.
definitely. And I mean, another responsibility. And I know these days, as the verge of AI is, being so used, are you leveraging AI technologies at your code, or is it like you have knowledge before? Like I know there was a time when I was studying, there was no AI, there was Stack Overflow, and we always
Mhm.
had to find solutions really hard in a way that was very difficult for everyone and took time. It was time consuming. But now with the verge of AI technologies, it has become much easier. So does your company encourage that, or how do you approach that? What do you do normally? How do you learn, and how do you keep yourself up to date with the latest trends?
So, in terms of AI, just one clarifying question: is this AI like learning about the technology and the ins and outs, or AI as in using ChatGPT or related?
Exactly, like using ChatGPT, Cloud, or any
Mm.
other models, and getting help with it, and learning, or maybe finding solutions. Is it really impacting, or is it something not useful, or you think that uh, you have to you have to be better off than just using AI or depending on it?
So, Meta has its own internal version of ChatGPT. So, I do use that occasionally for finding code, but with a lot of caveats because it has lots of hallucinations. And when I say lots of hallucinations, I mean lots of hallucinations in comparison to ChatGPT
Mm,
and Claude and all those. So
right.
um, you really can't use other. like large language models
Mm-hmm.
like ChatGPT, because number one, you don't want to plug in internal company data
Definitely.
into those models.
Yeah.
But number two, we really have created a niche in Meta where we're using very unique stacks. So I don't think it would be even useful to put anything there. So
Yeah, definitely. Um, let's talk about your breaking into your tech company. And uh, can you walk us through the application and interview process for Meta? I know it's pretty intensive, but tell us like how it all started.
right. So number one, I mentioned earlier, I got that reach out from the recruiter and I said, yeah, I'm interested.
Hmm.
So, and then I just applied. And the first round of interviews was just the screening interview where we went through a coding question. And it's been so long, so I won't be able to recall what question it was. So
Can you tell which year it was or something?
it was probably end of 2021 to beginning of 2022.
Okay, we could picture some of the lockdown happening.
Yeah, some things were easing up a little bit at the time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, and once I got through that screening interview, then I had two more coding interviews
Hmm.
and one behavioral interview. So, yeah. The behavioral interview was a little memorable. So,
Okay, awesome. What were the most challenging parts of the interview? Any preparation tips?
so the main preparation tip is that you really have to grind leak code. And what really helped me with leak code was not like, cracking, not books like cracking the coding interview or just mindlessly grinding at leak code.
Yep.
What really helped me was actually a little bit of a shout out, but Neat Code on YouTube. Like, I just started binge watching those videos.
Okay.
And what really helped me with those videos was he didn't just teach you how to solve the problem, but the paradigms behind it. So, like, you have
Right.
the sliding window, those sort of ideas behind it. So,
Awesome.
once I learned the techniques, like, you really get the hang of whatever questions they're going to ask.
So I know Neat Code, how you mentioned, I did create a playlist early last year,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a list called Blind 75.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if you know, realize, but over there's like 75 questions, and we try to solve the easy, medium, and hard. And a lot of people say that if you get those right, you can kind of like clear an interview. What do you think about
Mm-hmm.
that?
Um, I actually don't have enough knowledge. I didn't look at the different blind 75s. I was just kind of like, oh, neat code uploaded. Let me watch this.
Yeah, so he does have a channel too, which is pretty amazing. He's doing really great work, and he made a
Hmm.
beautiful website where you can
Hmm.
really practice those skills and see. And we'll definitely mention this in the description somewhere, so anyone can get more resources and details on that. Um, and how important is like networking versus like raw skill when trying to get into a company?
So I'd say networking is very important. Um, as I mentioned, like there was some form of networking magic that happened that got me into Meta.
Okay.
Like to the extent of that, I don't know. I also want to plug in being part of the disability community. One thing that was really beneficial for me was
Mm,
there was this program called the Disability in Next Gen Leaders program. So this was a career development program for people with disabilities. They don't have to be in tech; they can be in any industry. So I learned a lot about like, revamping your resume, LinkedIn, but also I met lots of people who were in the industry. And
okay.
one thing I loved was around the June timeframe, they had these speed interviews where you're randomly matched with different companies. And I did get one offer from there. I didn't choose to pursue it, but um, in summary, just take advantage of resources like that.
I mean, they definitely provided a platform, and that platform gave it like a bridge to where you had to be. So it's amazing. Uh, Now, one other thing is like, what in resources did you use to prepare? I know you mentioned lead code, but does
Mhm.
like projects, like self projects, side projects help? Resume building, crafting every single month, polishing it, or any like mock interviews.
So projects, what I really started leveraging were um, my university projects. This isn't definitive advice. Like I know some people say like you need to have your own projects on the side, but
Yes.
I definitely recommend doing that if you have the time. I didn't really do that, so um, what really helped me was I mentioned I didn't get an internship, but I was a teaching assistant for one class in university. So that got me some experience. Like I was um, repeatedly chosen for being a TA for the web development class for algorithms and object oriented programming.
Amazing. Which technology were you teaching?
So in web development, not going to lie, it was a little obsolete, but
Okay.
it was HTML, CSS, JavaScript, your basics, and then a little bit of Node, a little bit of what was the LAMP stack.
Okay.
So
I have a similar experience in a web development course back in the university. So,
mhm,
we kind of got the, like how you mentioned, HTML, CSS. We try to leverage it, but which is
mhm,
strange is that we use Java. And a lot
mhm,
of a lot of people don't use it, but we used the Java language, and we
mhm,
use servlet, Java servlet. So that was something different.
mhm,
It was a little bit challenging, but since our professor encouraged us to write code on Notepad instead of VS Code. So, we kind of like learned a lot of the nitty-gritty details.
mhm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Is there anything else you wanted to add with this? So these definitely help, these projects, side ones, and
mhm.
once you had like you had university projects and your TA-ship and all of this stuff really helped you out, and I think it created a nice craft or portfolio for you.
Right. I'd also look at the different jobs that you want to apply to and see what technologies are in. Obviously, I'm speaking from a web development background. So
Okay.
for our capstone project, the team decided to use React.js. And at the time, I didn't know anything about React.
Okay.
So that was really beneficial for me to learn it, especially going into Meta where everything is React. So
I heard that Facebook owns React, right? Um,
that is correct.
and it's crazy that to see that React became one of the most popular libraries for front ends for so much time, and I still know it's being widely adopted because of its uh, single page modularity, what they have, readability. You can mention.
Yeah, I mean, you hit all the points. It My favorite part is it's just really easy to understand and easy to just make things work. So,
Definitely. Um, so I wanted to know like what like skills and career advice that we can get. Uh, what key skills do software engineers need to thrive today, both let's say technically and in soft skills?
right. So, starting with technically, we are in a very fast moving world. So, by nature, maybe the advice that I give will be outdated in a day or so. But
Yeah.
um, regardless, so number one I'd say is like um, you definitely want to know the basics of things like object oriented programming. You want to know your algorithms and data structures at a bare minimum, and um, the fundamentals of coding, like
Hmm.
know a few programming languages under your belt. So
Okay.
I started with Pythons, but Python's a great starting point. But you want to know at least a few programming languages so you're versatile.
Hmm.
The rest is where the path diverges a little bit. Like if you
Yeah.
want to go into web development, then you might want to pick up things like React, Angular, Vue, depending on which kind of jobs you are applying to.
Right.
And if you're getting more into embedded development, then C, C++,
Hmm.
Rust is becoming bigger in there.
Yeah.
So, and machine learning has its whole own complete track of like,
Hmm.
Python and TensorFlow. So,
So these technologies, and in terms of soft skills, and like communication, you should have maybe know how to work with a team or anything like that. Think could definitely also cope up with your tech skills.
right. In terms of soft skills, the best, the same applies with the technical and soft skills, but practice makes perfect. But I think it's especially applicable with soft skills. So,
Yeah.
really going out of your comfort zone and talking with people.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and if you're in like a university setting or you're doing like group projects, learning how to manage those projects and how to break things into tasks and how to hold each other accountable without being like overly like rude or imposing.
Definitely, yeah. Team management and working with teams with people, that's really
Mm-hmm.
important. Um, so I know you are a software engineer, but in real, like, what type of software are you mostly working on? Back end? What is your like title, or what is your work mostly geared towards?
So at Meta, when you're a software engineer, you do everything.
Okay.
So you do front end, back end. If you need to do SQL queries, you're doing SQL queries.
Oh, okay.
So
So like a
yeah,
full stack engineer.
yeah, we are full stack.
Got it. And I know that there's like different levels for different software engineers, right? So
Mm.
is there a particular level you are in? Are you associate, or I heard that there's uh, a specialist, or they have different roles. It's different from every single company. So with me in different in Charles Schwab, I associate, and then there's a specialist, and then there's for every single period. But any title you have, or
So I am just a software engineer. So the levels are internal to Meta. So a thing that's unique to Meta culture is everybody has their levels, but it's kept hidden from everybody. So I could be talking to a senior engineer, or I could be talking to someone who's joined for only 1 month and is at the lowest level. But
okay,
at the end of the day, it's very democratic. So
okay,
this is to encourage, like, if you have an idea, you shouldn't let the fact that you're a junior
mm,
discourage you from that. So,
definitely,
it,
yeah. I mean that's amazing. Um, what do you think about, let's suppose someone who would say someone feeling stuck in a junior role or who wants to grow fast? Any advice for them? There are definitely people who just start out in a company and they're like stuck in like initial periods, and they're junior and they
mhm.
want to like learn and grow fast. So any tips?
So the number one place I'd look is trying to see what opportunities you have at your own company. So when I joined, there were some newer projects that were going on, and my boss was like, "Hey, we have this so and so project going on," and I was like, "Hey, can I take that on?" And he was like, "Sure." So being bold in that way, so
Okay.
trying to find opportunities there. Now, if you're in the case where you feel completely stagnant, like you're not getting your support from your manager and you feel like there's just dead ends there, then I'd number one, maybe explore things a little bit in your free time. And number two, if it is a complete dead end, you can also look for other opportunities at other companies. But I I'd try to aim for the low hanging fruit first.
Definitely. How do you stay updated with rapidly evolving tech trends and tools?
How do so I don't really have a, a method for that. So What I do really is at my company, there's different learning opportunities. So we have, for example, a course for AI. So I dabbled a little bit there. And just last week, there was a Rust learning workshop. So just it's similar advice to the last question. Just
Hmm.
pick out the low hanging fruit, like if you have opportunities there. But if you don't and you feel like your skills would become obsolete, then try to find something in your free time and try to, pick out a project, something that's really out of your comfort zone.
Awesome. How has living in Austin shaped, your lifestyle or work? I know you have a remote work, but do you
Mhm.
think Austin is becoming the next Silicon Valley?
Maybe if you asked me a few years ago, I'd say so, but I've been hearing lots of people kind of leaving.
Okay.
Like, um, I'm not sure if it's the next Silicon Valley, but the tech community is still strong here. So, um, but I can speak from a meta perspective. Two of my um, engineers were like, who I worked with living in Austin, and both of them moved to the Bay Area. And one of them was just saying how much she hated Austin. So, like she lived in the Bay Area, moved to Austin, and then she's like, I really don't like this. Like, weather's terrible, everything. So,
Yeah.
went back to the Bay Area. So,
Definitely, a lot of people have different perspectives and see, there's another guy from my team. Basically, he's not in my team, but he came from California as well, and he was new in this Austin region. So, people are used to some areas their whole life, and then they go into a new, location or something, and it takes time to get adjusted, but it's part of life, I would say.
right.
So. It's this is like a fun rapid fire round where I'm gonna ask you some questions. You can tell me the answers on the top of your mind,
Mhm.
and why you chose that answer. So, what is your favorite programming language and why?
Python, just because it's easy to write and it's your go-to for interviews.
Definitely. And for anyone who's starting out, which language should they pick up?
Same answer, Python.
Python, because of its
Yeah.
simplicity.
Simplicity and wide use in the industry.
Awesome. Most underrated tool or tech stack?
Most underrated. That's I'd say maybe, I'd say Java actually, because I'm not sure it's underrated, but it's overhated. So,
Yeah.
like, whenever I just want to do something that's mildly complex,
Yeah.
like Java is my go-to, like in my free time.
Oh yeah, and definitely they have a lot of community base, and
Mm,
they advertise like a lot of millions or billions of devices use Java, so
mhm,
it's ever expanding and it's ever using. You
mhm.
can't get rid of Java.
And those Java docs are just gold. It's like
Yeah, those duck. Yeah, definitely. Um, Book or podcast every engineer should check out.
book or podcast. I'm coding cleverly.
That's nice. Any book you did you read for improving your skills, or is YouTube really good? How to, where can you find good resources out from?
I really benefited from YouTube, so Traversy Media, Leak Code, um, a few of the free code camps, but I know if you don't have a lot of time in your hands,
Hmm.
then it gets very difficult. But also the Net Ninja was awesome, like for learning React and those sort of things. I love the Net Ninja.
Awesome. And there are so many like creators out there now, and like how you mentioned Traversy Media and Net Ninja, these are great
Mhm,
YouTube channels. I know how they go into the nitty gritty details. They don't actually, go and just talk about the overview of something, but they show you the real, points and parts of how, pieces of code connect and work. And so
mhm.
that makes a really good understanding. So I guess typing and following tutorials is a really good approach of learning.
Right, but you also want to get off the rails a little bit, like not just follow tutorials.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you get into what you call "quote unquote" tutorial hell.
Yes. So meaning your advice would be to follow the tutorial and then maybe you creatively make something out of it.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, okay. Um, First tech gadget you have ever owned.
Tech gadget. Can we count a PS1?
I mean, that's the first, yeah, gadget you would say, yeah, electronic device. So that was your first ever console. That's amazing. PS1.
PS1, or maybe we had one of those really old computers. Like I used to play the Blue's Clues game on it, so
Oh, okay.
um, that might be earlier. So yeah,
Windows
good time.
XP. Windows XP.
I think even before that, it was like 99 or something.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, the first ever operating system I used was XP, and I remember it was a compact, uh, monitor, those big ones we had in our house. Uh,
Yeah, same monitor.
you had one the same, and the early times of the internet where,
Mhm.
different websites had flash games. Uh,
Oh my god, yeah, Flash game.
so we used to check out different games, but I guess now they kind of got rid of all of those flash drive games anymore. I tried to play some, and they say
Hmm.
that they're obsolete now and they don't even support and a lot of different web apps or browsers, and so you gotta use
Hmm.
different extensions and stuff, which was pretty sad to hear because that was my whole childhood.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, One tech myth you'd like to bust?
Tech myth. I think the number one tech myth would be that. Actually, I have to think about this for a moment.
Yeah.
I think number one would probably be that you have to be like, some pro whiz at math to get into programming.
Okay.
Like, math background definitely helps, but you definitely can learn everything that you need to, and you don't need to be like some algebra genius or calculus genius. But and even like, getting into the math, it's not that hard. Like, I feel like anyone can do it.
Okay, awesome. I mean, that was a great round. You did really well. Um, these are some of final questions before we wrap this up. It has been a great interview so far. What separates a good engineer from a great one in your view?
This is tough because I'm not sure if I'd consider myself great or if I'm just good or barely passing at that level.
Yeah.
So, what I think separates a great engineer
Hmm.
would be that you have this sort of good scout mindset where you're not just coding, but you're thinking of how can I clean code up? Like, how can I, optimize, make things faster? How can I reduce on repetitive code? Like, can I make this all one function call? So, how can I really simplify? Because complicated code is not good code. Like, you want simple, easy to understand code. I think that's what makes a great engineer. One of the aspects. There's many more.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like that insight. And how important is contributing to open source in your opinion?
I want to say it's important, but I've never contributed to open source.
Oh, okay. Um, what would you say to a student or junior dev, let's say from a non-traditional background, trying to break in?
So, number one would be, obviously I am from a traditional background, so I my would not be as useful per se. But number two, which I think is the most important advice to even the technical, is just if you want to break in, never give up. Like, just continue grinding and learning the different technologies that are used in the industry and practice, and you'll find something. Like, just never get discouraged. Like you'll find something.
Awesome. Love that. What's a non-tech habit that you improved your that has improved your tech career?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure. So a non-tech habit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I honestly most of my habits are just purely tech habits. Like
Yeah.
maybe I need to pick up something that's just non-tech related.
Yeah.
Maybe just not really a habit, but like a normal thing is like you're going to be communicating with lots of different people. So something that's not tech related is like you're going to be communicating with designers or product managers. So learning how to you know talk with them. So maybe that's a little bit of insight, but yeah, sort of partially answered that.
Awesome. Um, let's suppose what does your ideal weekend look like when you're not working? So just general human side.
Human side. So number one, I do um a weekend should be a time where you are resting a bit. So do what you enjoy. For me, that's playing on my PS5. In terms of like um Meta's unique where I try to like if I have ideas, I try to code them up really quickly.
Yeah.
So but use it as a time to breath and relax a bit. If you have friends, well, you have friends. I shouldn't say if you have friends, then you spend some time with them. So really just get yourself refreshed, whatever you enjoy most.
Okay. This is some of these bonus questions. They're a little deep, but you can, state whatever you want. How has your definition of success changed over the years?
Success
Mm.
really, um, I think the number one key to success for me was at first when you're going through school, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to graduate middle school and then I'm going to graduate high school and then college. And then you're always constantly chasing these milestones. And once you graduate university, you're like, oh, I want to get a job. And then I want to go up the corporate ladder. Like,
Hmm.
at what point? You're just constantly chasing that. So that's your initial mindset of success. But really, what's really success is regardless of where you are to have gratitude. Like I think that should be our goal for success, and gratitude you can achieve at any stage. Like if you are grateful and you don't have a job, then you have everything set. Like that's what I think the north star of what you should be looking for, just gratitude.
And that I think could go all the way till your whole life. Being
Mhm.
gratitude to anything, no matter what part of life it is. It's beautiful. Let's suppose if Meta didn't exist tomorrow,
Mhm.
what would you do next?
So what would I do next? So I don't. I probably get back into the searching process, but I'd take a moment. Um, I'd stay grateful throughout, regardless, as I mentioned. Like
Yes,
I think that's should be a guiding paradigm for all things.
awesome. Do you have a sort of goals or ambitions you want, or your legacy? What would you want your legacy to be, as a software engineer, so people could have some influence on it?
So my legacy is a unique question. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't really want to be necessarily known for someone who's just worked for Meta or those sort of things. Like when I think of legacy, I want someone who, really spreaded, like, did something positive for everybody that would benefit everyone else. Like, I'm not in there for like 100% recognition. I don't want to become, a celebrity or someone who is very widely known, but I don't, I'd love for my legacy to live on quietly, where something that I did had a positive impact on someone. So like
Hmm.
the day that I'm gone, like it's like, I'm still having a meaningful impact on someone's life.
Ah, beautiful. That's just something really amazing. And something that's a fruit of thought for everyone, I guess. Even when it's if it's me in my place, like let's suppose if I'm doing something, I'm looking for a particular purpose in life, right? So bringing something meaningful, and it really brings something out for a person in general. Uh, Finding that meaning or the why factor. A lot of mention people say the why. What is your why? So
Mhm.
getting that, um, and yeah, it's just beautiful. Yeah. So quick a wrap up. That was really nice. Is there any like channels or anything or any place that anyone can ask you further questions? I would put the LinkedIn, but do you have any sort of links or things that you would like to share?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. So, and Harris can put the link in the description. Otherwise, I don't have anything else.
Awesome. These days, LinkedIn is the key for I guess every developer. And I bet, in your opinion, do you think a developer should have a LinkedIn or a GitHub, or for those who do not have these, is that something they're really doing something bad for themselves?
I think you should have a LinkedIn. Like, the way I would think of it is just pursue whatever means that you have. Honestly, I didn't use LinkedIn too much like
Right.
in my job search, but again, for connecting with others within the disability community, it was really great. So
Yep.
lots of incredible people there.
It's kind of like Facebook, but a professional version of it, where
Yeah, basically.
yeah. Also, I mean, any hobbies you have besides gaming? Any other things you'd like to do in your day-to-day life?
So other hobbies, I really want to get back into writing, but was I have all these ideas for different stories that I want to write and like, maybe publish a book one day.
Hmm.
Um,
Awesome.
and the other hobbies would be of like, reading, which I need to do a bit more of, but
Hmm.
gaming is like the big one. Like I'm a huge gamer. Love talking about all of your story driven games.
Is it better PC or is consoles better? PC versus consoles.
Man, it's fun. Does it really matter?
Okay. You could have fun with a like a Nintendo DS as well, right?
Right, of course. You can have fun with tic tac toe.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun. I mean, do you like? I know these days people have the latest PS5s, and then they're rolling out PS5 Pros, and some people are like, "Oh man, should I get that one or should I get the latest one?" What do you think? Should we just keep one console and then just stick with it? And I know that new games will be launched to it.
Mhm,
But with the ever expanding technology, especially like different things like iPhones, every year there's a new one.
mhm.
With different cars and stuff. So is there like you always like getting the latest stuff, or do you like sticking to one particular thing and using it for at least some sort of time? Um,
I think this will vary from person to person, but you really want to determine the value each console brings. So for me, the PS5 Pro made no sense because
yeah.
I thought the PS5 graphics were amazing as they are
Yes.
right now. So whereas let's say the PS6 comes out and you have, let's say some, let me see, like Spider-Man 3 comes out on the PS6. So that, in my opinion, drives some value into
Yeah.
it. Like I'm like, okay, I want to play the new Spider-Man. So then I pick it up. So yeah, really just determine like if you see like there are some must play games, then go for it.
Awesome. Well, that was an incredible session with Zad Ali, giving us real behind the scenes look into the life of Meta, the journey of becoming a world class, software engineer. And it just takes a thrive in tech today. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who's dreaming of working in companies like Meta. Huge thanks to Zad for taking the time to be with us. And we'll definitely keep building, keep learning, and keep dreaming big. That's something. This is Higher Softakar, and signing off for the channel. So appreciate for you guys tuning in.